Hey everyone, welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host Robert Durden, and today I'm gonna go after AOC. She's doing more stupid stuff, and truly, her de-evolution into like Nancy Pelosi Jr. has been shocking, and it happened very quickly. I thought that she would at least try to maintain some semblance of like an outsider status, and that's gone now. I don't know if I can ever donate to her again. I don't think I can. And she'll probably get, she'll still fight for certain progressive policies here or there, but I don't see much fight on things that are really important that she actually has leverage on. I see a lot more like virtue signaling and tweeting and stuff where they talk a big game and get absolutely nothing done. And I imagine that's what most of the squad is going to keep doing. Prove me wrong, but AOC, she did it again yesterday, where she did what's called whataboutism, and it's one of the most annoying ways to argue. It's when you are critical of somebody like Joe Biden when talking to somebody who's a neoliberal, and all they can say is it's okay because it's not as bad as Trump. So they don't actually argue for the policy that they're getting done or that Joe Biden is getting done. They'll just immediately go, well, it has to be good policy because Trump was so bad, which is, as you can see, as I say it like that, it makes no sense. So what she was talking about was the border policy, and she was asked basically I believe she was on she was doing maybe a show, like a podcast, and she was talking about, she was taking questions from the audience, I believe, and she was basically asked how Joe Biden's border policy was any better than when she went there under Trump. And of course, you guys all know that they're not kids in cages, they're kids in dumpsters now. They have been, moved and shifted around. All these migrants are still crammed into unhygienic facilities that aren't cages but are more like tents or retrofitted dumpsters or, shipping containers. That's what they're in right now. But they're still like sardine cans. They're unhygienic, and it's in the middle of a pandemic, and they're crammed into small spaces. So you're making a semantic argument when you say that the Biden is doing better on the kids in cages thing than Trump is. Really, not really. So AOC went on this long diatribe, and she never really answered the question about why Biden's doing such a poor job at the border. She just did what's called whataboutism, where she goes, well, it's not fair that you can compare Biden to Trump because Trump was taking kids from their families, and she just immediately went on this long diatribe about how Trump was bad at the border, which that is true. But she doesn't have an adequate defense of Joe Biden, which is why she's doing whataboutism, which is why it's so frustrating, because AOC 2018 or 2017 AOC would punch 2021 AOC right in the mouth. And she'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? She would never talk like this even a year ago. And that's what I'm talking about, man. She's really devolved really quickly. I don't know what her deal is. I think she's young. She didn't quite work long enough or struggle long enough to gain the true hatred of the bourgeois or the elites. She's younger than me by a couple of years, man, and I understand if you struggle for 5 years in the workforce, it's different than struggling 15 or 20 years in the workforce, and you can be bought off when you're too young and you didn't struggle enough. When you finally come into money, a lot of times you just you forget where you came from. And I think that AOC has forgotten where she comes from, which is why she argues like this. 2017 AOC would never do whataboutism or compare or to try to defend a neoliberal policy that was really, really bad by just saying, oh, Trump was worse. Let's focus on Trump worse. What about Trump? Instead of actually addressing the issue. She would have addressed the issue back then and called out the neoliberals for what they are. She doesn't call them out anymore. She just immediately goes to Trump bad, that's what the neoliberals do. So it's really sad to see. I feel like she was like a number 1 overall draft pick, and everybody's like, she's a franchise player. And then 2 years later, we're finding out that she was more like a 5th or 6th rounder. She's just a bust, man. She's a bust. She wasn't what we thought. She's not the player we thought she was. She's not a franchise player. She's at best, maybe she'll be a decent player in the majors, but she's not the savior that a lot of us thought she was, and she's getting worse by the day. So I'll talk to you guys later. This is going to be my last video for the day. Keep fighting the good fight out there. We'll see ya.